What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20. Today's matchup is DYNAMO MAGNETON versus Mega Eggs, which is Meganium paired with Exeggutor, a notorious e-reader deck. On the left side you will have Magneton, and on the right with the Exeggutor themed card backs you will have Meganium and Exeggutor. So opening actives look like an Execute and a Magnemite, no Clefas yet. And it looks like turn 1 is also going to Magnemite's side. That Magnemite is from Aquapolis. With Conductive Body, one more Magnemite on the bench will make it a free retreater. It looks like we will see a Fan Club, so Supporter for turn will allow the pilot here to take one or two basics or babies from their deck and put them onto the bench. So I assume we'll see one Magneton and one Clefa, simply to get that free retreat active. Otherwise the Magnemite has a free retreat or a retreat cost of 1. And on the other side, the Execute is also from Aquapolis. 40 HP, a couple of usable attacks. We'll see if it itself can get out of the active or not. And there will be a hard choice to make here right out of the gate. I think it should be Clefa into Magnemite, but we'll see if they opt to get, it will be a Doduo. I was going to say opt to get the Dynamo engine up and running, and it will be Doduo and Voltorb. So Doduo from base set can evolve into Jungle Dodrio for retreat aid. That will get everything free retreating for sure. So this line of play possibly being taken because there is a Dodrio in hand. No need to shuffle it away. And I do believe this deck runs a 2-2 line of Doduo and Dodrio. So if you find one, accelerating it out can often be the right play. Voltorb is also from Skyridge. It has Spin Tackle for 30, which can hit babies in that sweet spot of 30 HP. Good bulky 50 HP, and Magnet Pull on it is just Gust, so 2 usable attacks. And also the centerpiece of the deck once Dynamo gets up and running on the Aquapolis Electrode in this deck. So that is turn 1 Fan Club. Recycle energy on the Magnemite, and there is a baby in hand. You can see an Electrode in hand, but it looks like that was just a pass. So turn 1 from Meganium's side is going to bench 2 Pokemon, 1 Chikorita and 1 Sentret. Sentret most likely for that Furret that everyone knows to use Scavenger Hunt with. And into an Elm, so just opting to say no more trainers for turn. Going to try to find as many bench pieces as possible. And I bet we will see the Execute stick in the active because of that. Of course, it depends on what gets drawn from the hand. So Elm will draw a fresh 7 here. Neogenesis Chikorita on the bench is the 50 HP variant. There are 4 Chikoritas in the format, but only 2 have 50 HP, and that is this one as well as the Expedition Chikorita. I don't believe there are going to be any type relevant matchups here to keep an eye on both sides of the board. It looks like maybe off of that fresh 7 a Exeggutor was drawn, hard to say. It looks like nothing found off of that Elm to do except maybe go for an attack here. Two attacks on this Execute. Growth Spurt for a colorless energy lets you attach an energy card from your hand to Execute, which is good acceleration. Otherwise, Sleep Powder deals 10 damage and puts the opponent to sleep, so 2 very good attacks. Of course, this Execute is also looking at 40 HP as a trade-off versus the 50 HP Execute that you could get otherwise from Jungle. And it will be Growth Spurt, so 2 attaches in 1 turn there. Energy acceleration all around. I believe there's a juggler in hand. No, it's a fan club. Looked like a juggler. I know this Dynamo variant likes to run juggler to put energy in the bin, get it back later with Dynamo, and draw lots of cards. Second Voltorb comes out along with Cleffa. Not opting for Magnemite itself, though. Back-to-back fan club turns for Dynamo's side, and there is the first Dynamo man himself. Electrode evolves. And manually retreating that Magnemite to put the attached for turn, that recycle, that bounce back to hand, right back onto Cleffa and get an Eek. Nothing in the bin yet for Electrode to use Super Dynamo for, but once per turn, if Electrode is active, you can flip a coin, and if heads, choose a Lightning Energy card from your discard pile and attach it to one of your Pokemon. And as we were talking about before, there's the Exeggutor, the growth spurt paying off here, because now Called Shot will deal 30, and Gust will push this Cleffa to the bench and allow the first prize of the match to come off of a Cleffa KO. Declares Voltorb will get gusted. Called Shot will then target the bench. So if you're not familiar with Called Shot, you choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and it deals 10 damage times the amount of grass energy attached to Exeggutor. No weakness or resistance applied. That will deal 30, which is enough to take out Cleffa, and you don't have to flip for the baby rule when Cleffa is on the bench. So that is the first prize of the match to Meganium's side. This will be an interesting matchup because Dynamo likes to go very wide, but Meganium has the ability, especially with Exeggutor, to really shoot down your bench with some big numbers. Doduo evolves into Dodrio, so retreat 8 is up. Everything is free retreating on that side of the board, since the deck intentionally only runs things with a retreat cost of 1 or less. Lightning attached for turn to the active Voltorb, it looks like. Nope, it's gonna be for Juggler. Oh, just kidding. That was attached for turn, and Juggler will put 2 from hand into the bin as fuel for Super Dynamo. And for support for turn allows them to draw 5 off of that Juggler. I will see a Dynamo roll here for sure. There's no reason not to. Voltorb can free retreat, get Electrode active, and then flip for Super Dynamo. You might see them shortcut that sequence where Electrode just gets left on the bench. Otherwise, as attaches pile up, moving things around can get a little complicated, but it's usually declared a shortcut. And they did not roll for Super Dynamo. They forgot. Instead, they go for a magnet pull off of the Voltorb and pull in the Chikorita. Directly into a Warp Energy to get that Chikorita back onto the bench. And now Exeggutor is going to Called Shot for 30. I assume it will target the Dodrio, if I had to guess. Dodrio has 70 HP, that would set it up for a KO next turn with 1 fresh attach. Deciding what to hit here.
Did you just play him last turn?
Yes. And a hard choice here to see what to set up for next turn. decides to target the Magnemite, so the main attacker of the deck. So that is 30 on the Magnemite. Active Voltorb evolves into Electrode, so now we can see 2 Super Dynamo flips in 1 turn. And this is the first Super Dynamo. It is good, so that's a heads. That lightning energy can go anywhere on the board. And the second one, which you saw shortcut, because Dodrio is up, they can free retreat to that benched Electrode to do the Super Dynamo roll. It looks like that one was a Tails though, and then it retreats back to the bench. And then natural attach for turn to the benched Electrode as well. Swift deals 30 damage. Not a bad attack at all for 2 attaches. Another Magnemite joins the bench. And swings with Swift for 30. Reminder that Swift reads that the attack damage is not affected by weakness, resistance, powers, bodies, or any other effects on the defending Pokemon. Very good against certain cards. And attach for turn to the Chikorita, not to the Exeggutor. We'll be able to pick off a Magnemite though, with the other one just coming down. Can't hold off on Magneton forever, but that will be the second prize taken off that Magnemite for a KO. Surprising now 6-4 in favor of Meganium's side. Dynamo number 1 is a Tails, it looks like. Dynamo number 2 is heads. So right down the middle, attach for turn. Just kidding, it's not attach for turn. Dynamo attaches to the benched Electrode. Attach for turn will go somewhere else, assumingly. There's another Dodrio in hand.
I fear, honestly, using what's in my hand.
But you don't got to play them.
Fairly large hand for both sides right now. Recycle for turn onto the Magnemite, debating what to do with what I assume is a Magneton play. Nope, we'll just swing for 30, put Exeggutor up to 60 out of 80. And turns will pass back to Meganium's side, where we see a Chikorita evolve into a Bayleaf. That is good old school Neo Genesis Bayleaf. There are 2 of them as well, but this is the 70 HP one instead of the 80 HP one, simply because it has 2 really good attacks. And benches another Chikorita, I can barely see that. Oh boy, Super Explosion. Good lord. And it works. Okay, so discarded 3 energy off of the active Exeggutor. Did not think we were going to see that attack this turn, but you can discard any number of energy cards attached to any of your Pokemon, active or benched, and then you flip coins equal to the number of energy cards discarded that way, and then it will deal 40 per heads. So that takes a ton of energy off the board. Both sides. Hit 2 heads, so it dealt 80. And put an Electrode into the bin, so just like that, 3 prizes remaining for Exeggutor's side. Prizing now 6-3, I believe. Now, it would be pretty easy for Electrode to come in and take a revenge KO. Swift for 30 would knock out this Exeggutor. You have to imagine that the opponent on the other side of the board is holding a Meganium to follow up with. Super Dynamo is good off of the benched Electrode, and now Magneton will come down. You're going to see some energy moving around here because of Magneton's ability, Attract Energy, where when you play it from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you can move any number of basic energy cards attached to your other Pokemon to Magneton. Now a Nightly Garbage Run, which usually we see Town V. That lets you pull 5.
Garbage trash.
Usually Town V lets you take 5 basic evolution, basic or evolution Pokemon, as well as any basic energy you might want, and put them back into your deck and shuffle it. Nightly Garbage Run lets you do that for 3, and it is up to. And it is not your supporter for turn, so I think that's intentional here because this deck likes to leverage Juggler so much. And now we see a Professor Oak, so going to discard what was, I think, an energy and a Dodrio. I did not see all the cards under Dodrio to draw a fresh 7. Two Copycats in hand. Gonna see a computer search here. Putting 2 Lightning into the bin. I don't think we've seen an attach for turn yet. Maybe we have. Pretty sure we haven't, though. We don't see what that comp search grabbed. Could be another Electrode based on the benched Voltorb. Doubt that it's a Cleffa. Based on what I can see, it looks like the Gust is pulled from the comp search and it will be played immediately to pull in Bayleaf. Oh, this is going to be... This is a big turn here, so now Copycat to throw a small hand that was shaved down from a bunch of other trainer cards to copy the opponent's 6. That will be supported for turn, though. And I assume we'll see an Energy Blast or an Electric Blast from Magneton, where you may discard all of your Lightning Energy, and if you do, you can put damage counters spread across your opponent's bench Pokemon equal to the number of Lightning Energy you discard in that way, so... They'll be able to put 20 onto the Exeggutor for the KO and 20 somewhere else. But you must discard all Lightning Energy when you discard this way. And it will deal 40 to the active. Not sure where the extra 20 would get spread to, either the Sentret or the Chikorita. Now we find out. And it is 20 to Chikorita instead of the Sentret. Interesting choice. And that will be the first prize of the match for Dynamo. Off of Electric Blast. Does not knock out the active, but does knock out the benched Exeggutor. And in response, Meganium comes down. Wow, was that a Fuji? I believe it was. So Fuji's gonna put the damaged bench Chikorita back into the deck just in time for a Copycat. So that removes some damage. Meganium in the active still has 40 on it, but with Wild Growth and the attached for turn that was a Grass Energy, it can still use Soothing Scent. Wild Growth basically treats each Grass Energy as 2, so it's got effectively 5 energy on it right now. Soothing Scent will deal 40 and inflict sleep, which is very, very good against the swap concept on the other side of the board. If Magneton falls asleep and stays asleep between turns, then you will not be able to get your Electrodes active to do your Dynamo rolls. I believe prizing is still 3 to 5 in favor of Meganium. And some bad sleep rolls here could really let this game snowball away. And here we go. So it is Soothing Scent. Does half of Magneton's HP. And now in between turns we see if it will wake up. And it stays asleep. That's a huge roll. No dynamos this turn. It sets Meganium up to dunk next turn and take another prize. Unless there is a warp energy in Dynamo's hand.
That's true. I should probably. Just discarding the hell out of it all the time. Card take.
Recycle energy is the attached return to one of the benched Electrodes. And we'll see another copycat. Curious what the ideal card to find in the deck would be here. Maybe there's a switch, maybe there's a warp. I doubt it though.
There are more dogs, I think, can count up to 6. Like when people say, like, kill this secret.
There's a traitor. So Magnemite is going to be thrown back into the deck so that Dynamo can go and grab whatever Pokemon card they want out. And it's for another Electrode, so if not for being asleep, you could see 3 Dynamo flips in one turn here. There's also no energy really on board for Magneton to take advantage of, so no point grabbing Magneton from the deck and evolving. Attract energy wouldn't be able to grab anything.
See if I have specific card. I guess it doesn't matter. I have that card right now. It's
and passes turn, so that Magneton is good as knocked out. Prize number 4 about to be grabbed from Meganium here. Attached for turn is Grass Energy to Cleffa. And it will be a knockout. Recycle to hand, Magneton to the bin. 2 prizes remaining for Meganium. And now Dynamo needs to figure out how to start coming back on prizes. Still 5 to go. Big HP across the board. And now we are going to see 3 Dynamo flips this turn. So first one is a Tails. Second seems to be good, and the third is also a Tail, so hits 1 out of 3, but gets the attach onto the active, so Swift is online. Manually attaches a Recycle Energy for turn to the benched Electrode, one of them, both are fully healed.
that guaranteed sleep. So good.
We'll just ask Brandon about it. Shit. To him, it made no difference.
Fold. Got some support.
And Gust comes down, pulls in a Sentret. I guess Sentret is going to take 30 from Swift. Sentret only has a retreat cost of 1 though, so it can get away. You can also find Furret and evolve with it. Scavenger Hunt out a Warp Energy. Lots of options to get Sentret out of the active here. Case in point, Grass Attach for turn, Sentret retreats. Debating throwing in Cleffa for a guaranteed Eek, or Meganium can just keep on sweeping here. You're one good sleep flip away from getting away with it, but decides to go with the Cleffa. And it is Eek. Here comes Super Dynamo number 1. It's a Tails again. Tough flips. Second one is good again. And the big third one is a Tails. So once again, 1 out of 3, keeping things nice and slow. 2 Electrodes are fully powered and at full HP with Swift available to them though, so we'll see what happens to this Cleffa or not. Meganium gets gusted. Quite a few gusts in this Dynamo build. Looks like Meganium gets hit with Swift, so 1 more Swift will knock out Meganium. That's worth noting. And it looks like that Eek was a pretty good idea. They do find a Chikorita for the bench, as well as an Execute, and then a Trader to throw a Cleffa back in to grab Furret. Big turn there. Worth noting that the damage on Sentret, which I think is only 20, can't quite read the dice, but I believe that was sent from Electric Blast. Almost positive it's 20, means that it has 50 HP remaining, so even getting gusted and hit with an Electric Blast from another Magneton would be okay. And for doing what Furt does best, putting 2 cards from your hand into your deck to go and grab any energy card you want. Pretty good. Attaches that grass energy to the bench Chikorita. Can another Meganium get set up though? Soothing Scent for 40. This will be a big turn, big sleep flip. Contextually, it will determine whether or not Meganium is knocked out or continues knocking out. And it's a Tails massive sleep turn. 2 good sleeps from Meganium have kept this game fairly locked down. Manual attach for turn to the bench Electrode with no energy. And it will have to be a pass here. So Meganium can get us down to a final prize for its own side. In response, it will get knocked out by a follow-up Swift. Meganium needs to find one more evolution line, whether it's through the Exeggutor or the Meganium itself, to take its final prize, it looks like. Fairly small hand right now as well. And a Finder. Getting rid of a Gust and a Meganium. Those are two big discards, in my opinion, to find an Elm to refresh the hand. Quick bin check.
Yeah, but I can.
Oh yeah, that's
Let's see what was found. Grass attached return to the Chikorita. Doesn't look like a Bayleaf was found as far as I can tell. Knockout finally taken. One prize remaining for Meganium's side. Dynamo has some work to do. Recycle for turn to the benched Magnemite. And Swift for a KO here. Don't call it a comeback. And there's the KO. So now Cleffa comes active. Meganium needs to pull together a final prize. The 2 energy on Chikorita is a good start. Furret is going to tuck 2 to go and grab an energy card. Grabs a Grass Energy. We could see Furret close the game out with a Cyclone Energy as a Pseudo Gust. We will see. Huge find on the Bayleaf. Trader is a very good card. Now we'll see a Juggler. Both decks running Juggler. The only printing of Juggler in Pokemon trading card game history. So 2 energy go to the bin. You can also just do 1 if you want to draw 3. But discarding 2 gets you 5 drawn. It's supported for turn though. Now it just needs to find Meganium. We saw 1 go to the bin by knockout, another through discard, so there's at least 1 or 2 left. Just gotta find them. And a quick bin check, I believe, for those Meganiums. I think I only saw 2. A little hard to tell. Checking again. There's always a chance to just go for Super Explosion. The energy being on Bayleaf doesn't matter if you get one attach onto the Execute, manage to evolve it, and Super Explode to knock out the final Electro. That would be one way to do it. And a Computer Search, gonna discard a Cyclone Energy. Super Explosion doesn't feel like a bad idea. Highest HP in Dynamo's side is going to be 80. Comp Search putting a Fan Club and a Cyclone Energy into the bin. Will this be to go and grab Meganium? And then just hold on to it for dear life. Seems like a reasonable play to me if Meganium's in there. Unsure if they run 3 or 4 Meganium, but if one is prized, that could get awkward. Does look like the Meganium was found off of Computer Search. Double checking the deck as well. Really trying to set this up. Big turn. And it's a pass, so I assume Meganium is in hand. Super Dynamo number 1 is Tails, Super Dynamo number 2 is also Tails, so not hitting big luck with the Dynamos. That's how it goes with this deck. Crazy that we've only seen a single Electric Blast get off this match. I believe it's only one. Gusting up Execute. Not too worried about Execute doing anything though. And an Oak, so throwing a Doduo and a Comp Search away. Really burning through the deck. Found a Warp Point. That would have been nice with all these sleep turns before. Might want to hold on to that now. Throws down a Voltorb onto the bench. There's still just so many prizes to still take. And a Cleffa joins the bench as well. That Cleffa might end up being the final prize. It could just be bait for Called Shot off of an eventual Exeggutor. And we will see Magnemite evolve, so Magneton comes down and uses Attract Energy. Pulls almost all Lightning Energy on the board to itself, leaving just enough on the Electrode in the active to still use Swift if wanted, but it looks like that one will be retreating out. Magneton will be pulled in here. So with Magneton in the active, the Execute is going to get knocked out by an Electric Blast. And it's a double KO, so the 30 to the bench hits the benched Cleffa. And just like that, I believe Dynamo is down to 2 prizes, if I can count correctly. So prizing being 2 to 1, Meganium comes down. It might be too late for Dynamo to finish a comeback, though. Well, Soothing Scent here, definitely the play. Of course, we know there's a warp point in hand. That's also important. Are we gonna bin check? That is a very large discard pile. Alright, 40 and puts the Magneton to sleep. Potentially has a Gust in hand, could not quite verify that.
Trying to forward.
Draw for turn is going to be an Iggly buff. That will not do anything here. Rolls for sleep. It's a Tails. It stays asleep. Big flip again on sleep, but it's Warp Point. In comes that Furret that's been sitting there all game. Electrode comes in. Super Dynamo number 1 is good. Having difficulty figuring out where to put it, but I don't think there's a way to avoid the fact that Magneton could be the final prize here. Just requires a Gust, and I do think there's a Gust in hand based on how the pilots are talking.
You need 2 knockouts to I have. I have the means to get Magneton, and I have the means to retreat for it.
Hits the second Dynamo. And attach for turn. So Magneton very much powered up. Will knock out the Furret. Both sides are down to 1 prize aside, but it sounds like Meganium will come in to take the final knockout. No way to prevent it. There was a Gust in hand, so that will do it. Good game. Very back and forth. For more WotC-20, comment, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.